Evil Morty got everything he wanted. He escaped the curve, outsmarted every Rick, and left the system behind. No more loops, no more lies. Just freedom. But here's the part nobody gets. Freedom without meaning feels like hell. And now Evil Morty is stuck in it. This isn't a happy ending. It's the loneliest prison in the multiverse. Every Evil Morty story starts the same way, with a Rick who pushed too far. See, while I got lucky with Rick C-137, well, lucky is a strong word, but you know what I mean. Evil Morty got stuck with the absolute worst kind of Rick. The kind who treated him like property instead of family, dragging him on deadly adventures without a second thought for his well-being. But where I found ways to grow stronger, to understand, to sometimes even change Rick's mind, he just found hate. Pure, burning hatred for every single Rick in existence. Evil Morty explains what makes him evil is simply being sick of him, referring to Rick's toxic, immature, and sociopathic behavior. He claims that if you've ever been sick of him, you've been evil too. Most Mortys at the Citadel are broken shells, just like he saw hundreds of us as cloaking devices, subjecting us to torture and imprisonment. They cower, they obey, they accept their fate. But Evil Morty, he got smart, Rick-level smart. He didn't just snap, he calculated. He engineered a device that would allow him to control his own Rick, hiding it underneath his iconic black eye patch. He literally forced his will onto his grandpa, starting his mission to hunt down other Ricks and eventually discover the central finite curve. Here's my theory about why he's so different, why he could become so powerful when the rest of us can't. What if Evil Morty isn't just any Morty who snapped? What if he's actually the original template, the very first Morty that all other Mortys are based on? If that's true, then his origin isn't just about escaping a Rick, but escaping the very blueprint of his existence. It's not just personal trauma, it's a foundational, existential crisis that he decided to solve through ruthless efficiency. It's even theorized that his intelligence might have come from the mega seeds back in the pilot, or maybe he was the small percentage of Morty left behind in the Roy game, stewing in fury at Rick's behavior for decades in virtual time. Thoughtful, whichever theory you lean into, his path began in profound suffering and a deep-seated desire to break free at any cost. That cost, however, turned out to be far greater than just blood and destruction. So, Evil Morty executed his master plan with ruthless efficiency. He didn't just manipulate, he tortured thousands of Mortys, using their brainwaves as a shield for his evil Rick puppet. And if my original template theory is true, and he was literally torturing his own copies, infinite reflections of who he used to be, all for his own twisted purpose. His machine for breaking the central finite curve was even fueled in part by the blood of Mortys. He rose to power through sheer manipulation and mass murder, becoming president of the Citadel through lies and assassination. He exploited the power vacuum Rick C-137 created after dismantling the Council of Ricks, using his unique intelligence to gain control. He eliminated old systems, executed anyone who opposed him, like the Shadow Council of Ricks, and turned himself into a dictator. This wasn't just a revolution, it was a hostile takeover built on a mountain of bodies. When he finally broke through the central finite curve, he didn't just escape, he destroyed almost the entire Citadel. Millions of Ricks and Mortys, gone in an instant, sacrificed for his freedom. It was a grand gory exit, leaving behind a trail of universal chaos. And for what? To sit alone in his paradise beyond the curve. That's the thing. Evil Morty got exactly what he wanted. Complete freedom, total independence. A reality where Rick isn't the smartest being alive. He got a really nice house and a robot butler. But he chose to experience it completely alone. His paradise, ironically, does not involve any of his family, suggesting he detached from them long ago. See, while I learned that individual lives matter even with infinite versions existing, Evil Morty went the opposite way. He decided nothing matters except his own escape. Even when his peace was disrupted, when he reluctantly helped track down Rick Prime and gained access to the schematics for the Omega device, a weapon that could erase anyone from existence across all dimensions, he just wanted to be left alone again. Not revenge, not more power, just isolation. He explicitly said using the Omega device would cause him more headaches. Think about what that means. He's so disconnected from everything that even holding ultimate power feels like a burden. His ultimate victory feels hollow. Let's talk about Evil Morty's so-called victory. He escaped to a multiverse beyond the central finite curve, a place where Ricks aren't the smartest beings alive. Sounds like paradise, right? Except he went there completely alone. No family, no friends, not even other versions of himself, because he views other Mortys with disdain for their sellout nature and unwavering subservience to Rick's. He literally achieved what no other being ever could. He's the only known character to escape the central finite curve, and the only known character to have a gold portal gun. And his reward is eternal solitude. And here's the kicker. He can't even truly enjoy his peace. When Rick Prime's actions, Rick's interdimensional fracking to flush out Prime, sent shockwaves beyond the curve, evil Morty got dragged back into the drama. The one thing he wanted, to be left alone, was impossible. Because even in a different multiverse, he's still connected to the chaos he tried to escape. Well, I discovered that technology works best when balanced with human values and emotional intelligence. Evil Morty used his genius to sever every connection. He's probably the only being who truly understands how the multiverse works, who's seen beyond the artificial barriers that limit everyone else. But what good is infinite knowledge when you have no one to share it with? If my theory's true, and he's the original Morty, then his paradise is actually a prison. He escaped the cycle of Rick and Morty, but he can never escape himself. Every achievement, every moment of freedom is tainted by the memory of what he gave up to get there. You know what really sucks about being evil Morty? He's smart enough to see through every illusion, every comfort, every lie that makes life bearable for everyone else. And that intelligence isn't a superpower, it's a curse that makes every moment of existence feel hollow. Think about it, most people can find joy in simple things because they don't see the cosmic meaninglessness behind them. They can fall in love without calculating the probability of relationship failure across infinite timelines. They can feel proud of achievements without knowing that infinite versions of themselves have done the same thing. Evil Morty can't do any of that anymore. When he sits in his paradise beyond the central finite curve, he knows exactly why it feels empty. He understands that his robot butler isn't real companionship, that his nice house is just arranged matter, that his freedom is just the absence of constraints rather than the presence of meaning. His intelligence forces him to see through every potential source of happiness. This is different from Rick's nihilism, which is performative and defensive. Rick pretends nothing matters because caring hurts too much. Evil Morty genuinely understands that nothing matters because he's seen the mathematical proof. Rick gets drunk to avoid thinking about meaninglessness. Evil Morty is permanently sober in a reality where sobriety means seeing through everything that could make existence tolerable. He's like someone who solved the ultimate puzzle, only to discover that solving it destroyed his ability to enjoy puzzles ever again. Every mystery he unravels just reveals more emptiness. Every system he understands becomes another confirmation that all systems are ultimately meaningless. His intelligence trapped him in a state of permanent disillusionment. And here's the really horrible part. He's too smart to lie to himself about any of this. People with regular intelligence can sometimes find comfort in denial or hope. Evil Morty sees through those comforts instantly. He knows exactly why his existence sucks, understands precisely how he created his own prison, and is intelligent enough to realize that his intelligence itself prevents him from ever escaping it. His intelligence became a feedback loop of suffering. The smarter he got, the more he could see through comfort and meaning, which made him more isolated, which made him rely more on intelligence for survival, which made him even smarter and more isolated. He's trapped in his own brilliance, too smart for his own good. Evil Morty achieved something that no other character in Rick and Morty ever has. Complete, total, absolute freedom. He escaped the central finite curve, freed himself from all Ricks, eliminated every constraint on his existence. He can do literally anything he wants, go anywhere he chooses, create any reality he desires. And that's exactly why his life sucks. See, freedom only has meaning when you have something to use it for. When you care about something or someone, freedom means the ability to protect them, spend time with them, pursue shared goals. When you have dreams or passions, freedom means the opportunity to chase them. But Evil Morty systematically eliminated every person, goal, and passion that could give his freedom purpose. He's like a player who cheated to unlock everything in a video game, only to discover that having everything makes the game pointless. When you can do anything, nothing feels special. When you can go anywhere, nowhere feels like home. When you can have any experience, all experiences become equally meaningless. The central finite curve was a prison, but it was also a framework that gave actions meaning. Fighting against Rick's dominance meant something when Rick's dominance was a real constraint. Escaping oppression felt significant when oppression was an actual threat. But now, there's nothing left to push against, nothing left to overcome, nothing left to rebel against. Even worse, his freedom exists in total isolation. He chose to experience infinity alone rather than risk any connection that might limit his autonomy. But freedom without relationship is just sophisticated loneliness. Having unlimited choices doesn't matter when you have no one to share them with, no one to care about your decisions. The cruel irony is that his freedom became the ultimate constraint. Because he eliminated every external limitation, he created an internal prison where nothing he does can have meaning or consequence for anyone he cares about, because he doesn't allow himself to care about anyone. Think about what he told Rick and me. Using the Omega device would cause him more headaches. That's the sound of someone who has so much power that even ultimate cosmic authority feels like a burden. When you can erase anyone from all of existence, but you don't care enough about anything to want to use that power, what's the point of having it? His paradise beyond the curve isn't paradise at all. It's purgatory. He's suspended in infinite possibility with no motivation to actualize any of it. He has eternal life with nothing worth living for, unlimited power with nothing worth protecting, perfect freedom with nothing worth choosing. The most tragic thing about Evil Morty's story? He and I started from the exact same place. We both got dragged into cosmic adventures by sociopathic genius grandfathers. We both experienced trauma that would break most adults. We both had moments where we could have chosen different paths, but the choices he made to win are exactly why his life sucks now. When I encountered the Citadel and saw hundreds of broken Mortys, I felt empathy and wanted to help them. Evil Morty saw the same thing and felt only contempt for their subservience. Where I saw victims who deserved better, he saw weaklings who deserved their fate. This lack of empathy became the foundation of his later atrocities. The biggest divergence? How we handled our anger at Rick. I learned to channel my frustration into growth, developing emotional intelligence and moral reasoning that could sometimes even change Rick's mind. Evil Morty channeled his anger into hatred, letting it consume him until he became the very thing he despised, a manipulative sociopath who treats others as expendable tools. I chose to maintain my humanity despite cosmic horror. He chose to discard his humanity to achieve power. I learned that trauma could make me stronger while keeping my connections intact. He decided that connections were weaknesses to be eliminated. Every choice I made toward growth and understanding, he made toward isolation and control. And here's why his choices suck. He got exactly what those choices logically led to. When you choose power over people, you end up powerful and alone. When you choose manipulation over authentic connection, you end up surrounded by puppets instead of friends. When you choose to see others as expendable, you end up being the only one left. The cruel irony is that Evil Morty is probably smart enough to understand this. He can see the path not taken. He can see how I turned similar trauma into growth instead of destruction. But he's gone too far down his road to turn back. Every choice he made to avoid vulnerability led him deeper into isolation. He solved the immediate problem of being hurt by Rick by becoming someone who can't be hurt by anyone because he can't genuinely connect with anyone anymore. That's not victory. That's tragedy. He won every battle against the system that oppressed him, but lost the war for his own soul. So let's be real about why being Evil Morty sucks. He's the most successful Morty in existence. Escaped the central finite curve, has Rick-level intelligence, owns the Omega device, but success and happiness aren't the same thing. Evil Morty chose power over people, knowledge over connection, freedom over family. He killed millions to escape a system that trapped him, only to trap himself in isolation. He's so far beyond everyone else that he can't relate to anyone anymore. While I found ways to grow through trauma and keep my humanity, Evil Morty discarded his humanity to survive. He won every battle, but lost the war. Because what's the point of infinite freedom if you experience it alone? What's the value of ultimate power if nothing matters to you anymore? And here's the thing that really gets me. If Evil Morty is the original template, then he's watching infinite versions of himself make different choices. Some stay weak, some go insane, some find balance. He sees all these possibilities but can't be any of them anymore. He's evolved past the point of no return. Evil Morty got everything he wanted. He's free from Rick, free from the cycle, free from everything. But that freedom came with the ultimate price, being free from caring about anything at all. He's proof that you can be too smart, too powerful, too successful for your own good. So while evil Morty sits alone in paradise having achieved what no other character could, I'll take my chaotic life with all its trauma, growth, and messy connections any day. Because even if nothing matters, choosing to make things matter with the people you care about, that's true freedom. But remember, this whole thing is just my theory, that he's the original Morty we're all copied from. But this is the only way I can explain his power, his terrifying isolation, and the profound tragedy of his ultimate victory.
Hit subscribe now, or I'll replace you with a Cronenberg version of yourself. Click! It's just one click, Morty. Well, see you, I guess.